On this episode of the Tiny Home Adventure, we meet up with our good friends Scott and Collette. We explore the Hoh Rainforest in the Olympic Peninsula. Ashley and I get our butts kicked by some messy surf. Scott and I go climbing and get ourselves into a little bit of trouble.
I'm glad we did not go to the top. That's absurd.
Before going out for another surf session. And more.
Reflecting on it, there's two major takeaways I'd like to share with people in hopes that they can learn from my mistakes.
After 2 years of building the expedition vehicle of our dreams from the ground up, the time has finally come to hit the road. Watch as Kicker, Ashley, and I push ourselves to our physical and emotional limits, put our relationship to the test, and overcome unforeseen obstacles. Our goal is to spread positivity while learning from some of the world's most inspiring people. Welcome to Season 3 of the Tiny Home Adventure.
Ready, babe? Let's go. Going on a mission. So we're gonna go check out the Hoh Rainforest. Just met up with Scott and Collette from LaMarre. Happened to cross paths. Something to do while the smoke's in the air, but these guys are awesome and they're doing the same thing as us. Go look at them. Capture them.
Filming.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
These are our good friends Scott and Collette, aka Romaru. You might remember them from episode 2 of this season of the Tiny Home Adventure. They've been living out of an Airstream and traveling around the US as well. You should check out their channel, they're awesome. We headed an hour away to explore the Hoh Rainforest in the Olympic Peninsula.
Okay.
National parks are not usually my style, mainly because they're not dog friendly.
The Hoh Rainforest is easily one of the most green and lush places I've ever been. It was so cool exploring a place I'd never seen before.
We try not to take ourselves too seriously.
Thank you.
So the Hoh Rainforest was awesome. It's a little spooky with all the smoke and ash in the air, but it was nice to get into like the most beautiful place you could possibly find.
Sorry.
Yeah. It was really nice to like just get into the forest, the lush, dense, green spot, but it is eerie with all the ominous smoke and fog in the air. Near a mosquito. And Scott and Collette are totally ridiculous. You should see what they're doing. Go ahead. No, that was it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Here.
Real
We absolutely
funny.
loved the Hoh. What is the Hoh Forest? It was the Hall of Mosses.
Oh, the Hall of Mosses.
Hall of Mosses was great. If you're a photographer, you definitely should come here. Make sure you bring a tripod because you're going to take big, huge panos, stack them all together. If you don't know what they are, click this link here. Actually, I've never made a video about that, but maybe there's a website. I'll put it up there. But no, it is a photographer's dream. It's a tree lover's dream. If you're a vegan, you'll absolutely love it because there are no animals on the trail whatsoever.
Or a tree hugger like Scott.
Or a tree hugger, yeah.
That evening, Ashley and I went out for a quick surf session.
I'm honestly not a great swimmer and pretty terrified of the ocean and big waves, but it's been really fun pushing myself and getting more comfortable in the surf, and I'm really starting to have a lot of fun.
Even though the conditions were terrible and the air was still super smoky, we had a blast playing in the waves. Completely exhausted, we set in for the night. The next morning, I had some editing to get done, so Scott and Collette joined for a bit. Scott and Collette are both incredibly talented storytellers, so it was really fun having them critique my work to help bring it to another level.
And our stunt.
And our son. Anyways, yeah, they're super rad, and we're all just hanging out,
It's
grinding,
gonna be
getting some
hard
workout.
Like, why did they take out of the film? She said something's inappropriate.
Yeah.
After a solid editing session, Scott and I went bouldering. Scott has never bouldered outside, so this was a really fun mission for me. If you're not familiar with bouldering, it's a style of climbing where you don't use ropes because you're not super high off the ground typically. Most of the time you have boulder pads to fall on, but we didn't, so we just made the best of it and tried to keep things pretty mellow. We ended up climbing up this one rock that looked pretty easy, but once we got up to it, decided that the consequences were too high and the rock was pretty crumbly, so we decided to climb down. The funny thing about down climbing is that it is always harder and far more scary than going up. Never climb up anything that you're not totally certain that you can easily down climb, or you might get yourself into some trouble and end up in a pretty uncomfortable situation like Scott and I did here.
Put right there. Now you're home free. Yeah, dude.
I'm glad we did not go to the top. That's absurd.
See, we were able to get you the climbing spook that you're looking for. Right? Kinda? Yeah.
I just don't want to come down it.
Yeah. Totally the case.
After climbing, Scott and I got into the water to try and catch some more waves. Scott caught a few good ones while I struggled. Definitely not the highlight of my athletic career, but it's fun to be a beginner again, and just being in the ocean is so refreshing. Anytime someone is in the water, kicker has to play lifeguard.
So that was a totally crazy week. We have been just going non-stop like chickens with our heads cut off right now. We are getting ready to head to Mexico.
Woo!
This was kind of the whole plan, was to take the roamer from Alaska to the southern point of South America, but with breaking my leg and COVID, that didn't happen. So we've just been kind of working through this never-ending checklist.
2 years later, 3 years later, Baja is finally happening. I can't believe it's already here. And I seriously made checklist on checklist. Like, I don't even know. I add one thing, or I take one thing off my checklist and two things get added. So it's endless. We're supposed to leave a couple days ago, and now it's looking like we still have a few more days here just because we want to be sure that everything is prepared for crossing the border. We want to make sure Kicker is safe and we're safe. So
Yeah.
we're doing that.
So these episodes, they're about 3 week delayed. That last episode you just watched is from 3 weeks ago. So there's a little bit of latency here. We're trying to be caught up and be a little bit more relevant. And, you know, today is kind of an intense day for me. It's the 5-year anniversary from my accident in season 1 of the Tiny Home Adventure. Some of you have been with me the whole time. Since season 1, and a lot of you are new to the channel, so if you're not familiar, After filming episode 12 of the Tiny Home Adventure, which was the final episode, my younger sister had gotten married in Santa Barbara, so I left Moab, went to Santa Barbara, went to link up, saw the families, got to meet, my brother-in-law's family and celebrate with everybody. But I wanted to get back to Park City, Utah to regroup, make episode 12 the absolute best I could in hopes that it would be a pilot or a pitch for a season 2, which was my ultimate goal and dream. Unfortunately, I pushed the drive too hard on my way home and rear-ended an 18-wheeler and lost everything. I was totally financially exhausted. That was my truck, all of my belongings, my home, and I lost my first dog, Booter, who was my freaking soulmate. He was the best dog I could have ever imagined up until that point. I mean, Kicker is absolutely incredible as well, but I was totally devastated. And reflecting on it, there's 2 major takeaways I'd like to share with people in hopes that they can learn from my mistakes. The first of which is, do not drive tired. If you're getting tired, if you're falling asleep behind the wheel, it's not worth the risk. Pull over, don't be in a rush, nothing is worth it, just pull over and sleep. Take it from me, I promise you. And the second thing was, at the scene of the accident in the following weeks, I thought my life was over. I wanted to die. I was so over it. And I don't have family to really fall back on to dig me out of the hole that I was in. I thought all the work I had done over the last several years was for nothing, and that my life was totally over and not worth living. But I had hundreds of people from around the world who were watching season 1 who reached out and inspired me to try to rebuild. I had people saying that we had inspired them to live a better life or take their dog on more adventures or whatever it was, and that inspired me to try at least to rebuild, even though I thought it was pointless. And had you told me my life would be as good as it is now, I wouldn't have believed you. It's just, I would have missed out on so much had I given up. So if you're in a dark place, if you're down, if you're rock bottom, there's always a way to get back up. Might not be obvious, it might not be easy, but it's there, and I'm so grateful to be alive, and I'm so grateful for the experiences I've had since then, and just something I want to share. It's heavy and it's sad. If you're interested, check out season 1. Episode 12 ends extremely tragically, and it's a little bit more in depth on that story. But that aside, jumping back into this episode that you just saw, it's always good to meet up with Scott and Collette. Scott's like one of my best friends. We have this bromance. He's just such an insightful, smart dude. He's given me a lot of really great relationship advice that I've been working on. Ashley and I live in a small space. We have our struggles, we have our challenges, and he's had a lot of great advice and insight from me.
And for me, it was really great getting to see Collette. I don't know if you can tell, but this space is full of testosterone between Andrew and Kicker and Liam, so it's really nice to have the chance to have some girl time and just do things we like to do, just have some female companionship in my life, because on the road I really miss my family and friends. So
sorry, GoPro died. We're just gonna keep going. I always get a kick hanging out with Scott because they're sort of luxury travel vloggers, and I'm more of the action sports kind of guy. So it's fun to like bring Scott into my world, push him way outside of his comfort zone. He always rises to the occasion and crushes it, which is so rad. And Colette's just has so much energy and is just a really badass chick. So you should check those guys out, follow them. They're super cool. And as always, big thanks to our patrons. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. We are doing our best to keep the wheels turning, and if you join us on Patreon, we have all kinds of exclusive content, perks, merch, meetups, all kinds of cool stuff. And Ashley's been working on something super special.
Woo! So all of our patrons that are signed up on a level that get calendars, I have something exciting for you, because I'm currently working on our Kicker calendars for 2021, and I'm also going to put out Tiny Home Adventure calendars this year if I can get them done in time. So I'm working on getting the mock-ups made for those, and they'll go on sale as soon as possible. We do have to have all orders in by mid-November. I'll figure out the date, but just to make sure that it gets to you before Christmas if you want it, and then after that we'll have more for sale as well. But yeah, so those will be on sale on our website, and then for our Patreons that get them included, those will be shipped out to you as well. And yeah, I'm excited to show you what I've been working on.
So that wraps up this episode of the Tiny Home Adventure. Thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your time, and thanks for following along. See you on the next episode.
Woo!